Source Nation. Join us now for The Pendulum with Dr. Samori Swygert, a platform that encourages the 4Ds of philosophy: discussion, discourse, dialogue, and debate. Prepare to travel from the past, present, and have discussions of future implications and projections with a correlation to African Americans. These topics are intended to grab your attention, cause contemplation, and encourage some form of action. From the world to the White House to the hood and everything good, the pendulum is swinging your way. Source Nation, here is your host, Dr. Samori Swygert.
Source Nation, welcome, welcome, welcome. Once again, we're back in the saddle. Glad to have you with me, and I'm glad to be with you for another day. Always here to chop up some good games, some good business, and just make sure that we're sharing some good philosophies and positive messages and enlightening critique. So, with that being said, I wish you tremendous blessings of health, family, love, career, success, spiritual progress, and the accomplishment of your dreams. Source Nation, we're going to get very intellectually intimate, but tonight we're definitely going to get economically and politically intimate with the guest that we're going to have on today. So before we do all that, make sure you get your coffee, your wine, your water. If you want to turn your water into wine, if you know how to do that, make sure you do that. And make sure you get my shoehorn so that we can put our foot all up in the issues. Share the link with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms. I'm your host, Dr. Samori Swygert, a.k.a. Doc Swag, and I want to welcome you to my show, The Pendulum, every Wednesday, 8 p.m. on Source Radio. Now, a pendulum is an apparatus that people associate with a clock. It gauges time and space, and it traverses through time in a constant backward and forward motion. Some would say retrograde to anterograde. And this is what we do through the show as we engage topics. We connect the dots from the past, present, and future. The show is designed to encourage the 4Ds: debate, dialogue, discussion, and discourse. Gather your friends and family as we prepare to travel from the past, the present, and have discussions of future implications and projections with a correlation to African Americans. From the world to the White House to the hood and everything good, the pendulum is swinging your way. Now, Source Nation, today is a very, very special show, okay? We're blessed to be in the good graces and the wise counsel of our elder leaders today in the black community. James Clingman, some may know him as Jim Clingman. I've come to know Professor Jim Clingman listening to the Carl Nelson show, and I was like, wow, this he speaks with clear logic and cogent thought process. Everything makes sense. Sensible things, very organized about what we need to do. A lot of people, we talk a lot of rhetoric, but when it comes to organized thought and organized action and solutions, this is where a lot of things fall short. So let me tell you a little bit about Professor Jim Clingman. He's the nation's most prolific writer on economic empowerment for black people. He's a weekly syndicated newspaper column. It's called Blackonomics, and it's featured in hundreds of newspapers, magazines, and newsletters. He's written 7 books, 5 of which on economic empowerment, and he's been the featured speaker for numerous organizations, schools, churches, and events across the United States. Former editor of the Cincinnati Herald newspaper, Jim Clingman is the founder of the Greater Cincinnati African American Chamber of Commerce, and he's been instrumental in establishing several other chambers of commerce around the country as he continues to promote economic freedom for African Americans, and that's very important these days and times. He was an adjunct professor at the University of Cincinnati for 12 years, where he taught black entrepreneurship and the history of the black church. He taught business planning at Smart Money, a community services center in Cincinnati. He taught public speaking at Cincinnati Christian University, and he also founded Cincinnati's Entrepreneurship High School in 2001. Jim Clingman has received many awards for his journalistic work, including the prestigious Black Press of America's 2008 Black Press Champion Award from the National Newspaper Publishers Association and Foundation. Okay, now he's done much work with the Cincinnati Branch of the NAACP. He's recruited many contracts that's worth millions of dollars for black contractors in the city. And we're going to get into a lot of different things today. And I'm trying to find a way to say how happy and elated I am to have Professor Clingman with us. Like I'm very ecstatic right now. So we're going to get into that. Before we do that, I just want to make sure that we thank our sponsors, because I'd be remiss if we didn't. They make all of this possible. So our sponsors are Zuliana Health, Wellness, and Fitness, Paper to Film Productions, Revolution Mills, Renovations, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Blend to Blend Juice Bar Boutique, Urban Grandstand Digital, and New Covenant of Praise Worship Center. Now, Source Radio family, this is a live conversation. So if you want to call in and you have questions for Professor Jim Clingman, the number is 619-924-0933. That's 619-924-0933. We're going to take a quick break, and after the break, we'll be back in the saddle with Professor Jim Clingman from Black Economics. Peace.
Source Nation, stay tuned. You're listening live to The Pendulum with Dr. Samori Swygert.
This is Black Renaissance, uniting gang colors like the logo on Benettons. Plus we getting bread, that crooked croissants. Our feet in the door allow us to make an entrance. This is Black Renaissance, uniting gang colors like the logo on Benettons. Plus we getting bread, that crooked croissants. Our feet in the door allow us to make an entrance. Black banks, black credit unions, we do it right, break bread like communion. Black industries and markets, black labor unions, TV and media, broadcasting networks, turn gangs to corporations, increase our net worth, pool our resources like we at a potluck, creating new services, cutting edge products, no dirty money, keeping our taxes clean, keep our paper coming in like a fax machine, control our copyrights, trademarks and patents, trust funds for the kids when the bank account fattens, young black kids learning Mandarin and Latin, school trips to Wall Street, stock exchange in Manhattan, let them know black colleges are still very relevant. In the boardroom, the black brain is the elephant, bust through color barriers with the tusk of intelligence. And this is Black Renaissance, uniting gang colors like the logo on Benettons. Plus we getting bread, that crooked croissants. Our feet are in the door, allow us to make an entrance. This is Black Renaissance, uniting gang colors like the logo on Benettons. Plus we getting bread, that crooked croissants. Our feet are in the door, allow us to make an entrance. Deals with Africans for oil refineries, pop bottles from black-owned distilleries and wineries. Partner with Nigeria for precious metal minery. Make it to the majors and break through the minor leagues. Make our people richer when we splurge on the finer things. Kids go to Howard, study medicine and law. For the times George Wallace wouldn't let us in the door. Tell my son he ain't gotta run the streets like a player. No. Politically meant to him to run the streets like a mayor. And teach him to give back, he gotta add to his culture. More land from black realtors for black agriculture. For decades he made millions from narcotics. This time let's do it through space aeronautics. Black engineers and pioneers in deep sea aquatics. Black Bill Gates develop future technologics, and black architects to help renovate the project. This is Black Renaissance, uniting gang colors like the logo on Benettons. Plus we getting bread, that crooked croissants. Our feet are in the door, allow us to make an entrance. This is the Black Renaissance, uniting gang colors like the logo on Benettons. Plus we getting bread, that crooked croissants. Our feet are in the door, allow us to make an entrance. What I'm giving here is way more than a salmon dish. Survival skills, teaching my people how to salmon fish. Entrepreneurs and black ownership. Like Marcus Garvey, more blacks need to ownership. Rebirth the black Wall Street, stocks being traded. This time around, let's protect and insulate it. Recruiting black talent so it can't be infiltrated. Black college graduates, increasing by the thousands. thousands. Donations from black superstars for endowments. Black power, unity, loving black pride, real community where black neighbors live side by side. It's more than a rap to a beat to a poem. We trying to redesign the infrastructure of the home. No black on black violence, brother, peace. Salam, I need more men that can come and help build this. The village raise a child, what does it take to raise a village? And this is Black Renaissance, uniting gang colors like the logo on Benetton. Plus we getting bread, that crooked croissants. Our feet are in the door, allow us to make an instrument. This is Black Renaissance, uniting gang colors like the logo on Benetton. Plus we getting bread, that crooked croissants. Our feet are in the door, allow us to make an instrument.
Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening live to The Pendulum with Dr. Samori Swygert.
Source Nation, welcome back to The Pendulum. Like I said, I'm your host, Dr. Samori Swygert. And as I stated earlier before the break, I said we'll be joined with Professor Jim Clingman from Black Economics. Professor Jim Clingman, how are you doing, good sir?
Doing pretty well, Dr. Swygert. Good to be with you this evening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a pleasure and it's an honor. As I said before, I started learning about you by listening to Carl Nelson's radio show and just hearing you talk about how we can structure and organize our economic, financial, and political power in the black community to propel ourselves forward. And I like I said, I'm very choosy with my words. You have a very rational, logical, and cogent thought process when it comes to this. And so having you on, it's a blessing because for people that may not have heard of you, they're about to be blessed. And so just great to have you on.
I appreciate that, my brother. And the same goes out for me to you because I follow you a few years, and it's amazing that we're just now talking. But I know you've been working, and so have I. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be on with you tonight.
No problem. Well, Professor, one thing I always like to do is when I have a guest on the show, I like to make sure that they can go ahead and put their contact information out there so that people that are listening, they can always find a way to contact you, whether it's by email or a website or social media or anything like that. So
yes.
Tell the audience, what are the different methods and ways they can contact you and follow you?
Well, the website is blackonomics.com. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, Jim Clingman with a C. And I am on YouTube. I probably have about 80 or so videos on YouTube, most of which are about economic empowerment. And I'll give my phone number as well. It's 513-315-9866. And my email is jclingman@blackonomics.com.
All right, everybody. So the professor just gave you the means and methods in which you can get in contact with him and follow him. So, Professor Clingman, first thing I want you to tell the people about, what is Blackonomics about? What's Blackonomics?
Well, I came up with that term back in 1998 when I had already begun writing, but I decided to title my second book Blackonomics, and I explained it as the way to psychological and economic freedom. So it's really a multifaceted approach for black people to attain economic empowerment and political empowerment in that order. That's real important, in that order. That's what it's been ever since. A website, a radio show I used to do, a TV show, and a book, all were named Blackonomics. Because I believe, Dr. Swygert, that economics is different for black people if we know our history from the brand of economics that other groups practice and have the benefit of in this country. Now, along the continuum of business, it all becomes green. But initially, if we don't know our history about what our forebears did in this country in terms of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship, then we have no foundation upon which to stand as we build our businesses and as we seek to support them. So Blackonomics goes back and gives kind of a history lesson first when it comes to economic empowerment. And like I said, eventually, we get to business planning, which I used to teach, and entrepreneurship principles. But I think we have to have a foundation first. And that is additionally what Blackonomics is all about.
Okay. So with that said, when you said entrepreneurship, you also mentioned the term intrapreneurship. Go a little bit of depth about that. What's entrepreneurship?
Well, during the enslavement period, many enslaved Africans actually bargained for a plot of land that they could control, plant, and take care of, and grow food, and use that food to sell at the market, and they would keep the money. There is little known about that, but Dr. Juliet Walker wrote extensively on entrepreneurship. So even during a period where a person was enslaved, black people, they found a way to participate in the economic system of this country, which back then said, well, there's no way we're going to get back to our home. We don't know how. We certainly can't swim there. What are we going to do to empower ourselves? And that's what they did in many cases. And what they did with their money in many cases was to buy the freedom of themselves, their family members, and friends. And that's where this whole notion, or not notion, but retort comes from certain people who say, well, black people owned slaves too. Yes, they did. But you have to understand, first of all, the family dynamic back then among African people, and then the fact that it didn't take black folks long to figure out how they could take advantage, so to speak, of the economics that were going on way back then. And Juliet, of course, Juliet Walker called them entrepreneurs.
Got you. Okay. Well, Professor Clingman, here's one thing that I want you to expound upon. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about it. I hear you and Bob Amafika discuss it. But I feel it's important. People talk about it, people throw it around because it sounds fancy. But when it comes to real practice, we really have to start implementing it and instituting it into play, because society has kind of found a way to have us focus on individual achievement. We're very egocentric, and we're focused on the I. I did this. This is my brand.
That's right.
And even though it is my brand and I did this, we're very small fish in a big pool of sharks. And so it's better if we are working together. And so that term, cooperative economics, share with the audience, your views on cooperative economics, what it is and how we employ it.
Yes. What you said is, I hope these dogs are not interfering, but
no, go ahead.
You talked about the initial action or reaction that many of our people have when it comes to their egos, saying I. I wrote a piece many years ago titled, "There is an I, letter I, in we," the word we. And I spelled it W-I-E. And I said, but the I is silent, and it's a small I. And the article went on to talk about that we must view ourselves in the collective. Of course, individuals can and should and are doing well. I have no problem with that. But if we just collectively look at the individual accomplishments, for instance, and then divide ourselves based upon those differences, we'll never move to the level of parity that we should have in this country based on the fact that we've been here since the whole show started. We contributed just tremendously to the wealth of this country. And for us to now be so ensconced in the I, which keeps us apart and keeps us from achieving the things most of us say we need to have, it does not make sense. So this whole notion of us working cooperatively and collectively is tried and true. And again, this gets back, Samori, to what I said about knowing our history. We talked today about things that our people did 150, 200 years ago. And we still talk today about well, we need to do this and that, which is true. But they've shown us how it works and how to be successful by working cooperatively. For instance, through collective purchasing programs. That was done in the 20s and 30s by black people very successfully. And that, along with other kinds of cooperative efforts, led to economic empowerment and true wealth, not just income, but wealth. And along comes integration, and we lose our minds. And at the same time, we lose our economic base. No, we didn't lose it. We gave it away. We walked away from it. And we're the only people that I know who have abandoned our economic base for the so-called privilege of being able to go and spend that money with someone else. So the collective and cooperative aspects of what we promote is tried and true. It's been done many, many, many years ago and still should be followed today because it will, the way I look at it, if we win, I win. And that's the principle behind there being an I in we. I'm always in the we. And that's where I want to be, in the we, rather than out there by myself, where I can be picked off at any given moment.
Yes, that is very true. Very true.
And we talk a lot about this. We have cute sayings, and we repeat African proverbs, and we give it a lot of lip service because it sounds good and it makes us sound conscious and Africanized. I am because we are, and because we are, I am. But you have to practice that, not just say it. And well done beats well said every time.
Professor Clingman, what you're saying, it reminds me, and I'm going to say my piece real quick because really it's about you. It's about you.
Go ahead. I want to hear you.
But it reminds me, I have this that I created, and it's called Sperm, SPERM, and it demonstrates the economic interdependence of people, right? And you hear it all the time. You hear these terminologies always mentioned when you talk about business in America, right? And so SPERM, sperm, and that's sponsorships, partnerships, endorsements, referrals, and mergers. Sponsorships, partnerships, endorsements, referrals, and mergers. And what I say is if all of our black businesses and our entrepreneurs all practice this in an effort, we would see a lot of our complaints go away, and we would see ourselves progress. Because when I say sponsor, I don't necessarily mean sponsorship can come in several ways. I can give you money. I sponsor you financially. But sponsor you can also mean, look, you have a business. Your business may be film. I can sponsor you by giving you cameras, giving you equipment. I can sponsor you by giving you volunteer time as an actor in one of your screenplays or something. So that's sponsorship. Partnership, meaning, look, let's come together, Swygert and Clingman, we can come together, right, and put forth a product or service for the public to consume or patronize, yet we can still maintain our individual identities as a business entity, but we came together to put forth a new product. And by coming together, we cut down on expenses and liabilities. So that's the partnership there. Endorsement, that is probably one of the most simplest things. It doesn't require any money. It's when you have a person of notoriety or fame or prestige, you have that person that says, look, you know what? There is this up-and-coming seedling of a business that I see a lot of potential in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lend and leverage my fame and notoriety, and I'm going to endorse this seedling of a business. So that would be equivalent to, like, let's say, a Bill Gates. Before Mark Zuckerberg founded Facebook, that would be equivalent to, like, Bill Gates saying, you know what, everybody, I want you guys to support Mark Zuckerberg. He's working on this thing called Facebook that he said he should have up in a few years. I want y'all to pay attention to him. What he just did was he endorsed him. I took all of the attention that I have and that I've garnered from my experience and power, and I've a little bit here. So if we practice endorsing each other, and then the referrals, that's simple too. That's if you patronize my business, if you like my business, my services, my goods, right? Don't just enjoy it. Spread it around. Say, hey, look, you know what, man, I went to Jim Clingman's Black-Onomics page. Man, it was really dope. Do you know about it? You don't know about that? Man, go. It's blackonomics.com. Check it out. And you're spreading that to your friends, their different social circles, and it's just spreading around, word of mouth, all the referrals. And then you have the mergers where it says, look, you know what? we are going to come together. Swygert and Clingman, we're going to come together. We're going to relieve ourselves of our individual business entities and become one. So I'm going to take all of my blogging and radio and media, and I'm going to come together with Jim, and he's going to bring all of his economic and financial capabilities, his teaching expertise, and we're going to form one big conglomerate, a permanent conglomerate, and this is how we're going to move. So that's the merger. And I'm saying this is something that we could do when we talk about cooperative economics. That's that sperm right there. So, I'm going to get off my soapbox, but I just always want to share that with you.
I like that, bro. That's in keeping with us looking at economic empowerment in a comprehensive way and holistic way, not just one way, because there are a lot of roads that can lead us to it, and we have to be on every one. There's nothing wrong with that, because we're all trying to get to the same place. So, I've talked about alliances and partnerships among our businesses, supporting our businesses, forming cooperative groups among our businesses, the same kinds of things. But an acronym like that would not be easy to forget. So I appreciate that. That's a good one.
Yeah, sperm. We're giving birth to black business.
There you go. Now, is that written up anywhere, or have you put that out there?
I've done it on an audio blog on Dr. Boyce Watkins' YouTube channel. But I plan to translate it into actual writing. When I do, I'll send it to you.
That would be great. Yeah.
Well, you know what, Professor Clingman. Actually, you know what? For those that are just tuning in, we have Professor Jim Clingman from Black Economics on the line on the Pendulum every Wednesday at 8 p.m. And he is dropping the jewels for us when it comes to economic empowerment and what we're going to do as a black community in America. So, Professor Clingman, one thing that I want to kind of touch on, it's not hard to tell. We're in a new presidential administration. So many things are going on that just need correction, and it's really showing us that we really just have to rely on ourselves, because nothing is guaranteed here, and we can only put up for ourselves. So midterm elections are coming around, and you have, politicians that are up for probably changing of the guards. But what I want you to talk about is the political, financial agenda that you have partnered up with Baba Amafika. I am one of the million. What's that about?
Well, it is the final iteration of some efforts that Amafika and I started when we were working with Claude Anderson to bring an economic enclave to Detroit back in 2004 and 5. That didn't work, obviously, but Amafika and I stayed in touch and just kept trying to put some meat around this whole thought of an organized collective of conscious black folks to take us to where we needed to go. And we had the Bring Back Black movement, and then that morphed into the Nationalist Black Leadership Coalition, and then we went dormant for a while. And we came back together about 3 years ago with the thought that this brother, Theodore Johnson, he wrote an article in the Atlantic magazine titled, "Does Black America need its own president?" And that was something that Amavika and I had talked about back in 2007. And we didn't mean a Barack Obama-type president. We meant a brother or a sister who all he or she did was advocate for black folks in a political sense. And so 3 years ago, we came up with I Am One of the Million. And we called some of our old compadres and got back together and had our first meeting. And we've been going since. But the three legs of this 1 million stool comprise education, politics, and economics. And economics being the number one, the primary to what we do. But knowing that many of our people are so wedded to the political system, even though we don't play to win, we just play to play, we incorporated that into our thinking based upon leverage. So we knew and did some analyses around this. We knew that around 2% of our people were conscious. And that came from years and years of being involved in different groups, he and I. And we said, okay, it's around 2%. That's 945,000 people or something like that. So we called it the 1 million. But deeper than that, we knew that if we could get a critical mass of conscientiously conscious black folks together, we could change our situation. Instead of waiting around and say, until all black people do this or that, that was futile, and it is today, because all black people are not going to do anything. And we'll be here 100 years from now saying, until we all get together. It's not going to happen. But a small group, relatively speaking, of conscious black folks can change this country and change us. And that's what we're most concerned about, black people, not minorities and all these other groups. So we said if we would leverage our dollars in the marketplace by supporting our businesses, by starting new businesses, by growing those businesses, and by creating more conscious black millionaires, then we'd be well on our way to economic empowerment. On the political side, we said we have to leverage our votes by voting in a block and letting people know these candidates, we are a million strong. Now, it may not be a million, it might be 900,000, 800,000, but you let folks know, look, we have money that we can put in your campaign or we can withhold it. But if you don't support our interests, not just by lip service, but in writing, if you don't do that, we're not going to vote for you. And even in some cases, on a local level, we could fund the campaigns of people that we select. The recent case was in Jackson, Mississippi, with Brother Chokwe Lumumba, his son. We donated money to his campaign from a national level. Now, I'm not saying we made him win, but at least we demonstrated what we talk about when it comes to the 1 million. There will be some other opportunities in the midterm elections for us to do that. But we know that money runs politics. If we leverage our money and then leverage our votes by voting in our own best interests and not supporting folks who don't support us, then we can, again, advantage ourselves in this country. And, of course, education, that's Amafika's bailiwick. We have people complaining all the time. We need to have our own school. We need to support our own. Well, let's do it. instead of just complaining about it. So
right.
we work constantly. We have a sister over that task force in D.C. Working on issues related to education, starting African-centered schools, that kind of thing. So we have the three main bases covered in terms of our work. And we're not just talking about it. We're not theorizing about it. We know what works and what doesn't work. We've seen it. So economics is key. We use that to leverage politicians like every other group does, lobbyist group, and make sure that we're passing on the proper education to our children. That's what the 1 million is all about. And I was so proud to see your sign-up form tonight, because I'll share with the listeners, I didn't ask you to do it, push it on you, and we do that for a very specific purpose. We'll tell people about it, but we want it to be their decision if they sign up. And when I saw your name, I said, wow, that's great. Because you didn't have to be pushed. You looked at it, you saw something you liked apparently, and you signed up. And the more we can get our people to do that, man, the better off we're going to be. And the faster we're going to reach the level of empowerment that most of us say we need.
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, it is something that I kind of always want to do. And here's one thing that I encourage anybody that's listening. Take an hour out of your day to slow down for a second and dedicate 1 hour in some manner to, whether it is thought, action, or volunteerism, to seeing how can I contribute to my community, my African community development and progress.
Yes.
Because when it came to, I signed up before the show, and it's something that I always been wanting to do. And we get so busy. We work, family. Got to go to sleep, got to get up, work. And it's like, before we know it, we get into this robotic phase, and we forget about, we have these blinders on, and we don't think about things. And as we don't think about things with these blinders on, guess what's also happening outside of those blinders in that peripheral? Bills are getting passed, legislation and laws are being passed, communities are being taken over. So we have to take time to say, hold up, you know what? What am I doing to combat that? Whether it is educating myself, whether it is lending myself financially to an institutional organization that is in the fight for it, it's all of that. And so this was a moment of slowing myself down, and I'm like, man, you know what? I'm actually going to be on the line and talking with Professor Jim Clingman. Like, I have to do this. I've heard him on Carl Nelson. I always loved the platform, but I'm just always busy. And so it's like, take time and invest it into the community. So definitely. And you will also be seeing a donation coming through too. So
that's good.
So
that's all we ask. People take a look at it. It's a whosoever will, let him come movement. We're looking for special people, conscious brothers and sisters who are willing to, like you said, contribute some of their time, some of their treasure, and some of their talent. And we have several levels of membership, because some people will sign up and they say, well, I can't really work, I can't do anything, but I'll send $20 a month. That's fine. You're doing something. You're contributing toward our collective economic and political freedom. So if you just can do that, that's great. If you can lend some talent, and I already have some ideas for you. What I'm going to ask you to do. But that's what this is about, man. It's nothing that we're trying to force on anybody. We're not saying drop what you're doing and come with us. It's just an open movement. It's organized, number one. It's practical, like you said, and people can choose whether or not they want to be there. But we don't want people who just want their name on a list. That doesn't do them any good, and it doesn't do us any good. Come in at some level, even if it's just a contributor, because that's what the name is all about. 1 million conscientious and conscious Black contributors and voters. That's the name.
Professor Clingman, I got to pick your brain some more.
Okay.
No. When we're in the presence of wise counsel, we got to get it while we can. So, one of the things we see what's happening with the NFL, and the whole Colin Kaepernick thing and everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't know what to do, and we talk about boycotts and divestments.
Yeah.
What's your take on like boycotts and divestments? Do you think that's something we should practice and exercise, or how should we do it, or what's your take?
Yes, I believe that we should do it, but it should be done in an organized way with an exit strategy. It's one thing to boycott something, hold your money back, right? We're not going to spend any money. We're not going to the game and all that. My question is, what are you going to do with the money that you don't spend? My suggestion is that you use that money in some way to empower our people by contributing it to a movement like ours or supporting a Black business. It's not just about us trying to hurt somebody. I'm not aware of any billionaire that you can easily hurt financially by not supporting them. But I still agree that there should be some outward statement of our dislike when it comes to the way we're treated. But just to do it haphazardly and in a knee-jerk way is not benefiting us. And, when Kaepernick first made his statement, Black folks got mad because, they were booing him and the coaches talking about him and everything. And when a lot of us knew, we went out and bought his jersey from the NFL, wore it in protest. Now, how is that?
Right.
You're going to go give the people you're complaining about $200 for a jersey and say, I'm mad. See, we don't think, man, about that. Right. The same thing happened when Trayvon Martin got killed. The people demonstrated in Sanford, Florida, but before they marched, they went and bought Skittles and iced tea and held it up and took it down to the police chief. I said, wow, why do that? What kind of leadership says, okay, let's do this? So with this football thing, I said early on, the best way to protest this is not to say, well, I'm not going to watch. That's going to have minimum impact. It's not to say I'm not going to go to the games. Again, minimum impact, because white folks will fill our seats in a minute. But the way to do it is a way that the government and other big corporations do when they are upset. They withdraw their money. And if we would approach those sponsors of the NFL and tell them we're not going to support you until you speak out publicly in support of our interests. You'll see things change in a week. Because when you remember when Ray Rice and Adrian Peterson and Michael Vick got in trouble, corporations came out and told the NFL what they had better do about these guys. Budweiser, Pepsi, I can't think of all of them. But suppose we had done that when Eric Gardner got killed. Suppose we had said, look, Diageo Liquors, where we spend a lot of money, Coke, Pepsi, Budweiser, whatever other company we support, if you don't speak up for us, we're not buying your stuff anymore. Then we get something. But they don't speak up for us, Samori, because there's no cost that they have to pay for not doing it. They spoke up for the lesbian people and the transgenders in Indiana and then in North Carolina. That state lost $400 million because of 0.04% of the population of this country was mad because they couldn't go to the bathroom they wanted to go to.
And they made up their mind.
Yeah, we're 13% of the population. We don't stand up for ourselves in that way, and nobody else stands up for us either. And they don't do it because we don't approach these boycotts and withdrawals and sanctions in the way that other groups do. Again, it gets back to the I versus the we. And I had real problems when Eric Gardner was killed, man, with these guys in the NBA wearing those shirts, somebody I can't breathe. And the first shirts were bought in New York and one in Brooklyn at the game. And they were bought from a white company. That white company got the raw material shirts from another white company in Canada who has a factory in Haiti and pays the workers $6 a day.
Wow.
And they put those shirts on and said, we're mad. We're protesting. And the white folks got money. And we're protesting. I had such a problem with that because I think it was an insult to the man who had the copyright on the words, I can't breathe. We saw that man die on TV.
Right.
And if we're not willing to stand up for him and others who have been killed unjustifiably, like Colin Kaepernick first made his statement, and do it in an organized, practical, results-oriented way, then we're not doing anything. So my thinking has changed now, that LeBron came out the way he did and Stephen Curry and others, but we have to be practical. We have to all understand that money runs this country. The first thing that this country does, Samar, when another country makes them mad, is economic sanctions.
That's right.
They take their money away.
That's right.
And we don't have sense enough. Yeah. And we don't have sense enough to do the same thing with our dollars and then use those dollars to help ourselves. It just is mind-boggling to me sometimes to watch the way we approach our problem.
All right, so what's running through my head now is money moves this country, and you use you weaponize your finances to fight, right? But that's now, if the unemployment rate is so high, or let's say they now, they're moving towards this whole cryptocurrency and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
you know, yeah. And then I'm also thinking of how they're using now. The shift of employment is going towards automation, digitization, and robotics.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like eventually we as black people, if we don't get it together, we will not have the financial resources to weaponize our money.
That's right.
You know, and so our voices will always be muted. You know?
Well, we'll have the money, which is our aggregate income, but we call it black buying power, but I call it black buying weakness, because the only people who gain power from it is certainly not black people. So even if we have the money, if we're not, like I said in my book, if our dollars are not making any sense, then what are we doing? They're going to continue to run over us, like you said. And the unemployment issue, the least we can do is create more jobs for our own people. By starting and growing our own businesses and taking over industries or niches in those industries where we dominate as consumers. We can do that today, collectively, but we won't. We'll just complain. Well, the Koreans control the black hair care now. Okay. They've been controlling for a while. What are you going to do about it? You're going to go and pass their store and go there and find a black one? Or are you going to lead a movement to start more beauty supply stores owned by black people? Or are you just going to complain about it? So my thing is, if all you're going to do is complain, nothing will ever get done. So, even though we have the money collectively, it's not wealth. We have to work on turning that $1 trillion into wealth at some level and not just brag about it being aggregate income. And if we were the ninth largest country, you've heard that stuff, that doesn't mean anything. That means nothing.
Right.
We got the potential to do it. I say let's kill potential. And the only way we can kill it is to realize, to bring to fruition the solutions we know we must have. Then it ain't about what we got the potential. So we don't have power because we haven't exercised it. People say, we got the power to do this, do that. No, we don't. Why? Because we have not used it. The only way you know you have power is to exercise it. Otherwise, it's just like a battery on a rack in a store. You think it has power. You say, it's power. I'll buy a battery. But you don't know until you put it into a flashlight or something. And it's the same way with us. Everything we have is potential and dormant and all that. But we have to start using what we have to create wealth, to create more jobs, to start and grow more businesses, to teach our children entrepreneurship at an early age. And like you said, start doing more for ourselves, because ain't nowhere in the world someone else is going to come and save us. We've been here for 400 years. If that were the case, we'd have been saved a long time ago.
That's true. Very true. Very true. Professor Clingman, I want to ask you this question. What are your thoughts on reparations? Is that something that we should push for? There's some blacks that say, just give it up, we'll never get it. Some people will say, we're gonna fight for it tooth and nail until the day we die. Well, what's your stance on reparations?
My stance is that it's a deal breaker. If we don't, if we never get it, we should never stop fighting for it. Why would we not? when everybody knows that we have worked, our people worked for 250 years or so for free. And I'm like Malcolm. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, he was talking about how people say, well, I wasn't there. I didn't have slaves. He said, well, you're here now to pay, and I'm here to collect. Because you inherited the wealth that was generated by my people. So I believe strongly in reparations for black folks, and I think that we should do everything we can to move that along, because, we have a tendency, bro, to get excited about something and then we let it go. We don't have the kind of sustainability when it comes to movements and issues that we feel are important to us. We can't drop that. And people can say, oh, we'll never get it and all that. Well, that's fine, but a whole lot of things we may not get, but we still fight for those things. And the fight, in this case, is worth it. Because I think we do a disservice to our ancestors by talking about, well, let's just let it go.
It kind of baffles me, too, because when I hear my people say that, I'm like, man, do y'all not understand, like, the Jewish community, they have societies that literally, they track these Nazi war criminals, track them down to their dying day. They don't care if those Nazi war criminals are on their last dying breath. If they find them, they're like, look, you owe me.
That's right.
They make them pay.
And you're going to pay.
And you're going to pay. And you're going to pay.
Right.
And, it also makes me think of, like, the government. You owe the IRS back taxes. Guess what? They don't forget that you are going to pay.
That's right.
If you are in arrears for child support, guess what? You're going to pay. You're going to garnish that check, but you're going to pay. So I don't understand why we don't adopt that same tenacity when it comes to redeeming what is owed to us from the exploitation of our own ancestors. They baffle.
That's right. That's right. Because we're just so easily diverted from things, and we want to please white people in particular. We don't want to seem out of our place, and a lot of us are still suffering from psychological enslavement, and we want to make other people comfortable. I love what Jesse Williams said. He said the duty of the oppressed is not to make the oppressor comfortable, something to that effect. And I love that. We got too many of our people trying to make don't worry, I'm not one of them, and I understand it's been a long time ago. You're right, you didn't do anything. Those people are dead. We come up with everything, man, in order to avoid doing the work that needs to be done to gain reparations. I've written extensively on it. It's one of our planks for the 1 million. And I'm like William Clay, man, who back in the 60s, Black House of Representatives, he said, we don't have any permanent friends or permanent enemies. We have permanent interests. And that's one of mine, permanent interests.
Yes.
You look at Black Wall Street, those people never got reparations. And I spent time with some of those survivors about 12 years ago out in Oklahoma. They're all dead now. And, Dr. Ogletree took it to court. Supreme Court wouldn't even hear their case. And the day after it happened, or a week or so after that happened in 1921, the mayor of Tulsa said, we're working right now to give reparations to these people. It never happened. And we sit back and we revel in Black Wall Street. We talk about it and everything. But it's just, we romanticize about it now. We romanticize about the pyramids, as Amos Wilson said. We talk about, well, our people built the pyramids, and we sit around and romanticize it. But he asked the question, where are pyramids today? What have we built? Don't just sit around and talk about what our ancestors did, which was great. But if you're not doing anything, that's what the problem is. So I'm just about action, man, and I'm again just happy to be talking to a conscious brother, Dad, who is really entrepreneurially inclined. I've seen some of your videos, and I remember one where you listed 3 things to do. You said the flea markets, the city boycott, and the bank-cot.
Yep, the bank-cot.
And I started thinking about that, and I said, man, I've been involved in every one of those, all 3 of those movements over the past 20 years. Promoting susus and urban markets. We have one. Matter of fact, our chapter in Minnesota is doing one in Minneapolis this Saturday, an open air, kind of flea market thing. I believe in that. And bartering.
Yes.
That's something else. We have our own affinity groups. And then on the city boycott, we did that in Cincinnati in 2001. We called for a boycott against the city and cost that city over $200 million, and brought about what you see today in this community policing thing, because we brought them to the table to sign a consent decree that came out of that boycott. We had we put out a call for entertainers and other folks not to come. We asked conventions not to come, and it cost the tourism industry over $200 million. And then on the bank-cot, I'm familiar with what Killer Mike did, and people moved their money and everything. But I went one step further. I'm not saying it because I'm, all that. I just thought, let me call Michael Grant at the National Bankers Association and see if we can develop some kind of prosody program among black banks and black consumers who are transferring their money, to see if we can have a special lending program for businesses, things like that. And he thought that was an excellent idea, because I said, Michael, what we're doing now, what Killer Mike has gotten a lot of people to do now, is fine, but it's not going to last because our attention span is so short.
Yeah.
So when I saw your YouTube, I said, these are exactly the things we should do, and they must be done on a sustained basis. We can't just hit it a couple of weeks and walk away.
It almost has to be religious.
Haul. Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate your wisdom on that and keeping that out there, because, like I said earlier, the lessons have been there for us a long time. The only problem is we have not executed on those lessons.
Yes. Well, Dr. Clingman, I'm gonna share one more acronym with you. This one is also on Boyce's channel, Boyce Watkins' channel, and I call it the Black CEO. Most people, when they think of the CEO, they think of Chief Executive Officer. And when I say the Black CEO, I mean something different. And the CEO stands for the customer, the employee, and the owner. And that's the Black CEO. That's what makes the black business thrive. The black customers, the black employees, and the black owners. And each one of them have interdependent responsibilities. The customer's responsibilities is to make sure, as a customer, look, you give me as a business owner, I'm looking to you as a customer to give me constructive feedback, not negative feedback. Give me constructive feedback on how I can improve and enhance my product and service that I have out here in this community. You know, that's your job as the customer. You know, the employee, your job with the employee, be there, be punctual, be presentable, be knowledgeable about all the products and services that we have. Be as helpful as you can, you know. And you also there to market and advertise. This is you as an employee. No handouts. You know, usually, you have people that work for you, and you're like, oh, well, give me the hookup, until they give their hookup. And next thing you know, the business is tanking because you have insiders that are basically eating away at your inventory. So the employee has responsibilities, and then the owner has responsibilities too. Hey, as a black owner, try to primarily first prioritize black employees. See if you can hire black employees. Give them proper training. Instilling them the purpose, the objective, and the mission and the importance of black-owned business. 2, make sure that as you are gaining revenue as an owner of a business in the black community, don't just take that money out of the community and then redistribute it out into white America. No, take some of that money, pay down whatever debt that you have, but also give some back into the community. Every black community has students there. You got some that are getting ready to go to college. You can put some scholarship money out. You can have some educational drives. And so then that is the impetus for black people in the community to say, you know what, I'm going to make sure I go to Samori Swygert's dry cleaners or Samori Swygert grocery store. Because guess what? He always does this annual event. He does this biannually, and, my children benefit from this. When my children come back home from college in the summertime, he hires them as summertime employees. So they have a mutual vested interest in my business, and I have a mutual beneficial invested interest inside the community. So that's what I call the black CEO, the customer, the employee, and the owner. So
that's another good one, bro. That creates this mindset that we are interdependent. That if you succeed, I succeed. And that's very much needed among our people, man. Those 3 entities. If they were working like a well-oiled machine, to borrow a phrase, man, there wouldn't be anything we couldn't do. And customer service is so important, man. Because we criticize ourselves. We hold our own businesses to a higher standard than we hold others. And, we got to do it right because our people will walk away from us. They did it in the 60s, and they'll do it today just for different reasons. Something go wrong, boom, I'm never going back. But they go in a department store where they're followed around by detectives and cameras. They go there every week, and they know they're being followed and mistreated. So, it's so important that these kinds of principles and thoughts be disseminated to our people. You're doing a good job at it. You're thinking, and you're practical in your thinking about what we can do. It's not rocket science. It's simple.
It's not rocket science. We just got to get our people to believe in it. Believe in practice.
Yep, that's right.
Well, Dr. Clingman, is there anything? Because we're about to get ready to wrap up. Is there anything that you? Well, I want to make sure that before you do go, I want to make sure that you put your contact info out there one more time. But is there anything else that you kind of want to share with the people? You got it. It's your platform.
Yeah. Well, I would summarize by saying that it's about the doing. Of course, we need to write. Of course, we need to talk. But we also have to do. We have to follow it up with action, organized action via or critical mass of black people and an infrastructure through which we can do the things that we talked about tonight. I am suggesting that infrastructure be the 1 million. And you can go to IamOneOfTheMillion.com and read all about it. But there are other ways. I'm not saying that the 1 million is a panacea, but at least it's something that's up, running, and we're doing the best we can do with volunteers. We would like to get to the point to where we can actually hire folks like you and pay the kinds of salaries that you young folks make working for someone else. We're not there. But if we reach critical mass, we'll be able to do that, or when we reach it. So consider that. Again, the best way to contact me is by phone or email. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and all that other stuff, YouTube, and my website is blackonomics.com. My email is jclingman@blackonomics.com. You can see the books that I've written, 5 on economic empowerment, and a series that I call Inspiration Collection. The reason my voice is bad is because I have a debilitating disease now, and I'm not able to do all the things I used to do. But I've left a lot on the table in terms of information through the articles I've written for 25 years and the books that are out there as well. And I'd appreciate anyone's support. My phone number is 513-315-9866, and I do answer my phone.
All right. Well, Source Nation, you heard from Professor Jim Clingman of I Am One in a Million and Blackonomics. He is one of our foremost outspoken speakers devoted to black people's progress, economic empowerment, and political empowerment. So he gave you all the information, and I really hope that you will access it, utilize it, and that it will empower you and ultimately mobilize you so that we can create some form of change. So with that being said, Professor Clingman, I want to say thank you on behalf of Source Radio Network, and we want to say thank you, sir.
I appreciate that, Samori, and thank you and Sister Tracy Jeffcoat for having me on.
All right. Well, you have a good evening, sir.
All right. You too, bro. Hotep.
All right. Hotep. And Source Nation, once again, I'm just going to give you our sponsors because they make all this possible. And that's Zuliana Health, Wellness, and Fitness, Paper to Film Productions, Revolution Mills, Renovations, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Blend to Blend Juice Bar Boutique, Urban Grandstand Digital, and New Covenant of Praise Worship Center. I am Dr. Samori Swygert, a.k.a. Doc Swag, and you can find me on Twitter at DocSwag06, DOCSWAGG06. On Facebook fan page, 2MASC, 2 Minutes and Some Change, and Source Radio. So with that said, we'll see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m., Source Radio, the Pendulum. Take care. Peace.